Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the season 2 premiere of the Queen of the Ring podcast. I am so excited to be back with the podcast. For those that may have followed, we were done with season 1 after WrestleMania, and I took a break because you know what? Bad bitches are mentally ill, just like myself, and bad bitches need breaks. And that was me last year. But I am so excited to be back. This is season 2. We have already started the year off wildly. There is so much that happened this week throughout all of the promotions, not just with WWE or AEW. We got New Japan, we got Stardom stuff happening, especially Stardom coming to the United States. I am so excited for that. Stardom American Dream 2024. I got my tickets to that show. And there's just so much to look forward to with this new year in 2024. So I think I picked the right week to start off this show and to kick it into high gear. And I am so pumped. So, without further ado, let's get into the news of the week, the events of the week. What are we looking forward to with this entire year? Because I feel that we have set ourselves up with a tremendous year in wrestling right now. Let's start off with the biggest news or the biggest event that happened this week at Monday Night Raw during day 1. The Rock came back. And The Rock came back, and he is stealing Cody Rhodes' spotlight at WrestleMania. That's right, folks. The Rock has returned, and he's taken over. He is not going to allow Cody Rhodes to finish the story. This is the story that Cody Rhodes has set himself up with, and he has written since the day he was born, and now he's not going to be able to finish it at WrestleMania. No! Just kidding. That's not my reaction. That is not how anybody should interpret this, guys. Listen, The Rock is bored, and he came back to WWE. And in his promo, he, called out Roman. He called out Roman Reigns, and he called out the head of the table. Now, I know that some people are not looking forward to this because they do want Cody Rhodes to finish the story at WrestleMania. I think we're all assuming that The Rock is going to move on to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns for the title. Roman is having a wild couple of years with this title. He has passed 1,000 days. And so the question is, at this point, who is going to win those titles? Who is going to take over? And the majority does feel like Cody should finish the story. But I think a lot of people are just assuming that The Rock is going to take over and go on to WrestleMania. And that's not the case because we have a huge event coming up. And that is not the Royal Rumble. That is Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber is going to be in Australia. And it feels like they're building up for a big show. And The Rock versus Roman, that match, that dream match that we've all been waiting for, never needed a title. In fact, the title that the title that The Rock wants is the title of head of the table, right? We all assume that The Rock is the head of the table when it comes to the Samoan lineage, the Samoan family line, bloodline, if you will. And now The Rock has always been that, and now Roman's taking over that. I think this is the match to look forward to at the Elimination Chamber because with WWE, especially last year, they've focused on a lot of shows that are not the big four, right? You had a huge event with WWE Backlash. You had a huge event with Money in the Bank in London in the UK, and then you had Backlash in Puerto Rico. This year, they've already set up the Elimination Chamber being in Australia. They've set up Backlash being in France. And I think that this is the move that WWE wants to set for the future, where all of their PLEs are moments, right? They're huge moments. And they want to pitch it as big as, WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble. I mean, they happen in huge arenas sometimes, So I think that's what they're building towards. And why not kick off the year, going to Australia and having The Rock wrestle? Think about the headlines. Think about the headlines that'll make, The Rock returns to WWE and he wrestles in Australia. And then you have all media eyes onto this event that is happening in Australia with the Elimination Chamber. That's good for business. That is good for business. I think to have that match with The Rock and Roman Reigns for just the title of head of the table, and to just have that match play off there, and then you let Cody Rhodes finish off the story at WrestleMania. It is written in the stars for Cody Rhodes, and Stardust made sure to write that into the sky of the cosmos for Cody Rhodes. He's going to finish the story at WrestleMania, but I do have to applaud WWE for bringing back The Rock and finally putting the pieces into teasing The Rock versus Roman Reigns. It's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen this year. Who knows? The Rock may even show up at the Royal Rumble. Who knows? Possibly. Who really knows? Let's break the wrestling bubble for a second. The Rock, I feel, is having quite the year when it comes to Hollywood, right? He didn't do a great job with Black Adam. It kind of feels like his reputation in Hollywood is the light is not shining too bright. I'll just say that. And now he's going on interviews and he wants to work with A24 and he wants to tell deep, meaningful stories when really people just want to see him in action movies. He's an action star. People want to see him wrestling dinosaurs. And I saw that tweet on Twitter earlier today. And it's true. It's true. We want The Rock to come back and wrestle, and that is that. Hollywood and all of society wants to see The Rock wrestle. That is good for his PR move, honestly. That is good for his PR. That is good for his reputation and for his image. Take a little break from Hollywood. Come back home to wrestling. Come back home to WWE. And that's that, Settle it. Have the match with Roman. That is the number one match to have if he's going to come back to WWE. If he's going to come back to WWE and have one last match, there is nobody more perfect than Roman Reigns. This has been the dream match for The Rock. And when he has this match, he's officially done. I feel that he is done with WWE. So, just like the old saying goes, we gotta let it play out. We gotta see where they are going. And this is a great way to set up the rest of the year. This is a great way to set up moving forward. We're only a few weeks away from the Royal Rumble. We're a few months away from WrestleMania. This is great. This is so good. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the Royal Rumble. Everyone's going off on Cody and Roman and what is The Rock going to do with Cody and Roman. When was the last time The Rock was around the Royal Rumble? I'm not too sure, but didn't we forget that CM Punk lost the WWE Championship to The Rock at the Royal Rumble, and CM Punk is back in WWE, and The Rock came back to WWE, and it's around the time of Royal Rumble season? I feel like I'm the only one playing around with that idea. Am I wrong? I would love to know what you guys think, of course. But I don't know. I think that is maybe something to focus on, maybe something to play with. Hopefully they do play with it if The Rock does return, whether it's, tonight on SmackDown. It is January 5th, so I'm recording this before SmackDown. So we're definitely going to have to see next week how that all plays out. Maybe tonight, maybe next week on Monday Night Raw, leading up to the Royal Rumble. It's a huge season for WWE right now. But while we're on the topic of the Royal Rumble, I just have to say, when it comes to the Women's Royal Rumble, I am pumped to see what they do with the Women's Royal Rumble. There are so many opportunities to have incredible surprises for the Women's Royal Rumble. You have Jade Cargill currently training with Natalya, who can possibly make her WWE debut at the Royal Rumble. You have the talks of Camille possibly signing to WWE. Camille, former NWA Women's Champion. You have the talks of her coming to WWE. You have the talks of Trinity, Knockouts Champion from TNA. You possibly have her coming in. And then you have the iconic legends, of course. Maybe Trish Stratus will come back. I don't know. Maybe the Garcia twins can possibly come back. I would love to see Right to Censor Ivory return to the Royal Rumble. It was so incredible to see her come back during the Royal Rumble a few years ago. That was so much fun to play around with. You can have her come back. Anything seems possible with the Royal Rumble all around, all around. And yes, do not forget about AJ Lee. AJ Lee could possibly come back to the Royal Rumble. Never say never. We don't know how she is when it comes to, physically in the ring in terms of, she may have some injuries that she possibly needs to work around. But we've seen people come back to wrestling, even to just have that one spot at the Royal Rumble, maybe even just one match and they're done. Who knows? I think that is probably the biggest thing going into the Royal Rumble. I think now that CM Punk is in WWE, he dropped AJ Lee's name last year. So we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what plays out at the Royal Rumble. But I think having The Rock return and having a little bit more of a spotlight on the company leading up to the biggest season of WWE. You have the Royal Rumble, you have the road to WrestleMania, and then you have WrestleMania that is going to be in Philadelphia, night 1 and night 2. Very exciting stuff. You have CM Punk back. There's so many different talks of so many different talent going to one company to another, but possibly one of the biggest conversations right now happening when it comes to a talent jumping from one side to another is Mercedes Moné heading her way to AEW. We're going to have to see how that plays out too, because that is going to be incredible to have Mercedes Moné come up to AEW. I think it is a good company for her, one, to match her rate. I think that it is valid for her to ask for the amount of money that she's asking for with her rate. Listen, that's someone who knows her own value, right? You can't deny that she moves tickets. She's a huge draw. Battle in the Valley last year with New Japan, what was it? A one match announcement was Mercedes Moné versus Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship. And then you announced it and sold out the show. Not even like, oh yeah, a lot of tickets sold, just like a whole section sold out or whatever. No, the whole entire show sold out. So she's huge, and she's a huge figure, and she did that with a completely different company, and which was New Japan. And so I am excited to see the possibility of Mercedes Moné coming into AEW. AEW this week on Dynamite really set the tone with the direction that we are going with the women's division. Because you had Mariah May debut. Love Mariah May. Talk about a freaking debut on AEW. That match that Mariah had was unbelievable. And I've been watching her on Stardom since she started, like she's had a fantastic year in Stardom. When she was a part of Club Venus. Sorry, she was a part of Club Venus. She is one half of the Goddess of Stardom champions alongside Mina Shirakawa. She had a really great match against Julia for the 5-star Grand Prix. Definitely check that out. I highly recommend to check out Mariah May versus Julia at the 5-star Grand Prix. If you are itching to watch more of Julia, which we're definitely going to get to her in a second, and if you're itching to watch more of Mariah May, that is the match to look for. Mariah May versus Julia at the 5-star Grand Prix. I believe that happened in August of last year. Not too sure, but it did happen during their tournament. That is the match to watch. And so Mariah May had an incredible debut match. And who canceled her debut? None other than Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo came out and she is officially All Elite. And what an incredible signing, honestly, to start off the year in AEW. And AEW as a whole this week with Dynamite felt very different. It felt like a new era because World's End was pretty good. I think that some people were a little bit bored with World's End. I'm not too sure, but me personally, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a good show. Toni Storm versus Rio, great match, of course. You had Julia Hart versus Abaddon. They had an incredible show out. And I think that Julia Hart is doing a really great job with that TBS division right now in AEW. Toni Storm, an incredible character. Probably one of the best characters on TV right now. Number one best character on TV right now. Hands freaking down. And so it really feels like AEW is starting to pick it up. And it feels like this year is going to be a fantastic year for the women's division in AEW. It's going to be great. It's going to be great for AEW all across the board, because you have Mariah May, who was killing it in Japan. I think she's a fantastic signing to go into AEW. You have Deonna Purrazzo setting up a possible feud going against Toni Storm, and Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm have history together at Stardom. Deonna Purrazzo was unsuccessfully challenging Toni for the SWA championship. So you have a little bit of history there. I mean, Deonna Purrazzo is Knockouts champ. She's a AAA champion. She was the former Ring of Honor champion. And at one point, she was double champ with the AA championship and the Ring of Honor championship. She also had the Knockouts championship. Like, she has the accolades to elevate the division in AEW. And alongside the additions of Mariah May, you're setting up a really great year for AEW. And on top of that, you have the possibility of Mercedes Moné coming to AEW. She did not debut at Dynamite this week. I have a feeling she might debut at Dynamite next week at the Daily's place, because that is essentially home for AEW. It would be really cool to see her come through and debut at Dynamite in that arena. Also, next Wednesday is my birthday, so it'd be even better. It'd be even better if Mercedes debuted at AEW on my birthday. So if it happens next Wednesday, you are welcome. You are very welcome. But I definitely do think that Mercedes is going to help elevate that division alongside, everyone else. And I think that a lot of people are scared of Mercedes going to AEW because, AEW doesn't have the best showcase for the women. I think that the women in AEW, fantastic talent all across the board. Just a stacked roster for AEW. But I think that there are some fears that are valid when it comes to Mercedes coming into AEW. They're always on the same spot, the same time slot of 9:30. Things have changed on Dynamite. Mariah May's match, she was on around 8:45, 8:40. So we're making progress here, folks. We're making progress. There were like 3 women's segments that happened on Dynamite. I do think that they're getting a feel of how they should progress with this division. And I think with Mercedes being in there, you know, I know a lot of people fear that we're not going to get enough of maybe the other women that have been on the roster, especially the day one women that have been on the roster. But I think Mercedes is the person to change that. And I think Mercedes is possibly going to be the person to, you know, want to give everybody a chance on the spotlight. I mean, you have a lot of dream matches for Mercedes going into AEW. I mean, I think the number one that a lot of people want to see is Britt Baker versus Mercedes. Hopefully we get that. That would be a really great match going into Double or Nothing, actually. But I'm excited. I'm excited about the future of the AEW women's division. I think that the women's division have always lacked big star power. I think that they have definite stars in the company. You know, you have Athena in the Ring of Honor brand. I would love to see her come up with, you know, the rest of the women this year in AEW. You have Julia Hart, you have Chris Statlander, you know, but they are big stars, but I think it's just a mega star power that's missing a little bit with AEW. And I think that Deonna Purrazzo and Mercedes Moné are definitely going to bring that within the company. And I'm excited. I'm really excited going into the year of 2024 when it comes to the women's division in AEW. So really, really looking forward to it. Will Cheesemate? I just take that as Cheesemate on YouTube. Thank you so much for the super chat, y'all. Again, if you want to support the podcast, if you want to support the stream, if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely send in some super chats. If you are listening to the audio in your beautiful little ear biscuits, you can give this 5 stars, give me a rating, give me comments, all of that. If you're watching on Twitch, you can hit that follow button. If you're watching on Twitter, hi, I don't know what's going on X. What's going on Twitter? You can follow me. That's good too. But thank you all so much for the super chat. I love all the free agent talk has been driven by women. Definitely. I think that the hottest conversation when it comes to free agents are the women. And I love it. I love going into this year. We're getting huge signings and, you know, possibly a big one going to WWE is Julia. We're possibly going to get Julia this year. And oh boy, I'm so pumped for that. If you guys know, I did ask Triple H about Julia during the Survivor Series press conference. I made him say Joshi, and that's really what the goal was. I just wanted him to say Joshi and talk about Julia. But we did talk about Julia a little bit during that press conference. And now it's setting in motion. Julia possibly going to WWE, because during the Stardom Tokyo Dome City Hall show that happened a few days ago, which was the same day as Wrestle Kingdom, Julia disbanded Donna Del Mundo. Donna Del Mundo is the faction that Julia is the leader of. When Julia started out in Stardom, there was some controversy with her arrival because she still had a contract with Ice Ribbon, and she came through. Apparently, Stardom didn't know anything about the contract issues between Julia and Ice Ribbon. A lot of people thought that with Julia's arrival to Stardom, Stardom was starting to become, you know, the company that was possibly destroying other smaller Joshi promotions in Japan. But with that controversy comes success, whether you like it or not. And Julia has had a very successful run in Stardom since day one. You know, you have to consider her feud that I think put her on the map in Stardom, and that was her feud with Hana Kimura. Her feud with Hana Kimura is something that when I first watched it, I was instantly hooked, not only on Hana Kimura, but on Julia as well. I wanted to know more about them. Then Julia starts up Donna Del Mundo, and again, another dominating faction, you know, from winning so many of the Stardom titles. The whole entire faction, not just Julia, have won, you know, the World of Stardom Championship. They have won the Goddess of Stardom Championships, the Artist of Stardom Championships, SWA Championships, just belts on belts on belts on belts when it comes to Donna Del Mundo. And with last year, Julia had a really great show out. You know, Julia had a really great show out. She's appeared on Impact when it came to the Multiverse United pay-per-view that happened over in Philly. Huge draw over there. She's done a terrific job when it comes to the New Japan Strong promotion, I guess, you know, sideshow, if you will, when it comes to New Japan. She is the New Japan Strong Women's Champion. She's done a great job with that. But there are talks of her going to WWE. And now it is being reported that she is not going to sign her contract. She's not going to renew her contract going into March. Her contract is done. Dunzo. And she's currently going to take some time off to brush up and study more English. And then maybe possibly going to NXT. I think that is the number one thing that a lot of Julia fans were scared of when it came to her possibly coming to WWE, was that she was going to go to NXT. Because she's a huge figure in Stardom, you know? She is someone that when you watch Julia, the charisma just oozes out of her. And her in-ring style and her promos are just something that is so electrifying about her. And I think that the Western front, when it comes to wrestling, professional wrestling, I think they're definitely going to gravitate towards that, you know? But the thing about Julia is that she doesn't have any American TV experience. There's a big difference between the production aspect of Stardom and the production aspect of just WWE as a whole. It is very different. And, you know, you can talk the talk, you can walk the walk, you can have the look, you can have incredible matches, you can have 5-star matches in the Tokyo Dome. Sure, but you have to know how to work the TV. You have to know how to work in that production aspect. It's TV, you know? It's the glitz, it's the glamour. Lights on, baby. And so she needs to learn a little bit more of that. And again, the TV production aspect of Stardom and just New Japan are very different than WWE. I think having her go to NXT is great. It's fine, you know? Listen, Io Sky was a Grand Slam champion in Stardom. Asuka had an incredible run in Japan. And so did Kairi. And those three all started out in NXT. And look at them now. Look at the way that we, you know, love them now. Right? Io Sky, she's currently WWE champion. Asuka, the first women's Royal Rumble winner. And then Kairi, I mean, she had an incredible show out at the Mae Young Classics. She was NXT champion. She had a really great feud with Shayna Baszler. Like, those three have done an incredible job in WWE. But guess what? They had to learn how to work within the WWE machine. It is a machine at the end of the day. And they had to learn how to work through it. And look at them now. They are probably one of the most beloved figures, one of the most beloved wrestlers in general, superstars in general, regardless of gender, when it comes to WWE. And again, they had to learn the system of it through NXT. They had a really good show out in NXT. I mean, Asuka is hands down the greatest NXT champion of all time. Enough said. And I think that Julia is going to be good in NXT. I think she's going to be great. And listen, NXT, that women's division is popping right now. Especially last year. You know, You had Tiffany Stratton, you have Roxana Perez, you have Cora Jade. I mean, the list goes on when it comes to the NXT women's division. I think Julia will be fine. I think she will be completely fine in NXT. I don't think there's anything to be scared about. You know? Again, she's got to brush up a little bit. And it's no discredit to her, but, you know, she's got to learn a thing or two when it comes to the American television aspect, the presentation of being on television, you know, hitting the spots. You got to hit your marks. You got to know where your camera is. You got to know where your lighting is, you know? Like I said, you can be a fantastic professional wrestler. You can do all the high spots. You can do all the flippy floppy stuff. But you need to know where your camera is. You need to know where your lighting is. You need to know where your spots are. You need to know, okay, this is, you know, I get into the ring and then I have to be like focusing on, you know, hard cam. And then when my opponent comes out and makes a run in or comes out and cuts a promo, you know, by the ramp, I have to turn. I have to make sure that I'm looking forward. Like, there's different things to go about it when it comes to TV. And I think Julia will be fine. I think Julia will be perfectly fine. But Will, over on YouTube, thank you again for the super chat, Will. Much appreciated. Definitely helps the channel and helps the podcast. I appreciate it again. Will says, I understand why fans don't want Julia to go to NXT, but I think she will have the Dragon Lee deal where he is there for 5 months and big pay. Plus, we might get Julia versus Roxanne. We definitely will get Julia versus Roxanne. And we're all going to be waiting to see, you know, Julia possibly versus Io, Julia versus Asuka. We're definitely going to see it. But we just have to wait and see. And, you know, my heart broke to 1,000 pieces when she disbanded Donna Del Mundo. I was absolutely crushed when she announced that Donna Del Mundo was done. You know, I gotta hit the pose. If you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube, gotta hit the pose one time for the Donna Del Mundo stans. I am one of them. I am so freaking sad. But Micah, who is a part of Donna Del Mundo, she is now the World of Stardom champion. That is the red belt. She faced off against Suzuki during Dream Queendom, which is Stardom's last pay-per-view of the year. It is always the last weekend of December. And I love Dream Queendom. I love that Stardom does that, because if I can compare it a little bit, I feel like Dream Queendom is the equivalent to what WWE has with WrestleMania. I think that with Dream Queendom over at Stardom, that is the pay-per-view where everything pays off. And it's very clever to have that at the very end of the year, because when you have Dream Queendom, you are setting up the entire next year. You know, in 2022, we had Julia win the World of Stardom Championship and had a really great beginning of 2023. Then she lost the red belt to Tom Nakano during the All-Star Grand Queendom event. So with Micah winning this, and there was a really great story that was told. Again, if you want to get into Stardom, watch Dream Queendom. It's free on YouTube. I believe maybe the stream messed up somehow. That is the event to watch, because there are so many people that ask me. There are so many people that at me on Twitter. Alex, how do I get into Stardom? Alex, where do I start in Stardom? Which matches do I watch? How do I get there? Blah, 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 blah. I get it all. And listen, watch Dream Queendom. Go over to Stardom's YouTube channel. The entire show is there. There is no English commentary, which I know is a little hard for some people, but just deal with it. Deal with it. I know that there are a lot of Stardom-based podcasts that you can listen to that will explain a little bit more in depth when it comes to stories going on, especially during Dream Queendom. But that is the event to watch. If you want to get yourself set up for 2024, going into Stardom. Stardom did just announce that they are going to have a show during WrestleMania weekend in Philadelphia in the ECW arena. that is the show to watch, Dream Queendom, to set yourself up for the rest of the year. And Micah had an incredible match against Suzu Suzuki. Again, they had history with each other, battling each other for the 5-star Grand Prix finals. Micah did lose. Suzu Suzuki won. At the time, Tom Nakano was the World of Stardom champion. She had to relinquish the championship due to injury. Micah had to fight for her position to be the number one contender when it came to the vacant World of Stardom Championship to face Suzu Suzuki for Dream Queendom. And she reached it. She reached the top. And if we're going to tie Julia into this, Julia is the leader of Donna Del Mundo in which the faction that Micah belongs to. Suzu Suzuki started out with Julia in Ice Ribbon. Suzu Suzuki was heartbroken that Julia left Ice Ribbon to go to Stardom. And now Suzu is in Stardom. And there's just so much story to tell in that. There's just so much emotion. And that's what I love about Stardom and just TJPW and really just every Joshi promotion as a whole. There's so much passion with every single thing, every single story that's told with the women in Stardom. There's so much passion. There's so much emotion going behind it. So absolutely watch Dream Queendom. You have to watch that. If you want to set yourself for Stardom this year, you have to watch that. Go back and watch some other videos that are on their YouTube channel as well. Maybe even consider signing up for Stardom World. It's not the best streaming site, but if you want to start somewhere, that is a place to start. I think that Stardom should work, and hopefully they do when it comes to, after or before their show going into Philadelphia for WrestleMania weekend. They really have to brush up a little on their exposure to the Western front. Like they need to bring in some English commentary. Shout out to Veda Scott. Hopefully they are able to do some commentary for Stardom. But they need to brush up a little bit more on their exposure with the English audience, because it's there, it's definitely there. When New Japan came to New York for Rumble at 44th Street, you had Waka, you had Mina, you had Mayu show up to the event, and the crowd was so hot for them. Of course, you have Okada there and, Shingo, and everyone was excited to see them. But these women, we don't get to see them that often. We really don't. You have Skabon, which is a Joshi promotion that everyone is super excited for this year and coming into next year. Like, there's a lot of interest when it comes to Joshi, when it comes to the Joshi style in America. And I hope that they do brush up a little bit more on that. But I'm just going to have to wait to see how everything plays out. But Julia going to WWE is a good move. I think it's a good move for her. She's a huge star in Japan. She's going to be even bigger when it comes to, being a star in WWE, being a star in NXT. I think NXT, I think NXT is cooking right now. I think NXT did a really great job last year in 2023. And I think adding Julia to the mix in NXT is going to be even bigger. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what Julia delivers there. I'm happy to hear that, she is studying up on English, and she's probably studying up on maybe the history of WWE, because, not that many people know. Even though it's one of the biggest promotions, one of the biggest companies, it's okay to admit that not a lot of people know too much about WWE. I'm pretty sure there was a story during the Cruiserweight tournament in WWE that Kota Ibushi didn't even know who Vince McMahon was. So I think that's okay. But again, Dream Queendom with Stardom, really great starting point. Jeez Louise. But let's talk about Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom was a very successful event. We saw Tanahashi become a new champ. He is a new president for New Japan. So we saw him have a very, very cute show out. And I believe now Matt Riddle is challenging him at Battle in the Valley. I'm pretty sure. I know that we're getting Will Ospreay versus Okada at Battle in the Valley. Naito finally won the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. He's won it before. He was double champ. But the crowd was so hot for Naito. So really happy to see that. And then Bryan Danielson versus Okada was an extraordinary match. Talk about like an incredible career that Bryan Danielson has built for himself after WWE. I love that. I love that there are so many people, so many ex-WWE stars that are having a tremendous chapter in their new careers. You have, I mean, the obvious is Mercedes Moné. You have Trinity. Adam Cole's doing a really great job in AEW. I mean, Samoa Joe is now AEW World Champion. Athena having an incredible run as Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Bryan Danielson putting out bangers after bangers after bangers, you know, putting a lot of younger talent over as well. And now at Wrestle Kingdom, you had the appearance of Dolph Ziggler rolling through to New Japan. This is exciting. I love this because I feel that a few years ago, and even maybe last year, we were all talking about how, you know, where's Dolph Ziggler? Dolph Ziggler had an incredible cash-in, possibly the biggest cash-ins in history. When he cashed in, I believe, against Alberto Del Rio, after WrestleMania, the crowd was so hot for him, and it always just seemed like the future was bright for Dolph Ziggler. It's just something just wasn't there. Something just wasn't clicking, and it wasn't connecting. And now he's shown up in New Japan, and he is leaping over tables like that guy attacking the judge. If you saw that rolling around on Twitter and TikTok. You know, Dolph Ziggler is getting inspiration from Tony Storm's shoe, and he's telling everybody that he, you know, they need to watch for the shoe, and the shoe meaning Dolph Ziggler himself. I love it. This is the thing that I love about wrestling, man. This is the thing that I love about wrestling right now during this time. We are living in a time of professional wrestling that is exciting again. Listen, I know a lot of people want to compare, you know, AEW to WWE, to the Monday Night Wars, to the Attitude Era, you know, to Nitro versus Monday Night Raw. That is child's play for me. In my eyes, in my opinion, that is child's play compared to what we're actually getting right now. You know, in 2024, we have the most fantastic opportunity to be living in a time where we have easier access to promotions or to media outside of America, right? To easily have access to shows in Japan. I mean, you have the AJPW promotion teaming with WWE. You got William Regal's son doing an amazing job, aka Jeremy Allen White, because homeboy definitely looks like him. But, you know, we're living in a time where there's collaborations now. You know, you had the Impact and AEW collaboration. You're seeing stars that weren't utilized in one of the biggest wrestling companies, which is WWE. You have a lot of stars that weren't heavily utilized in that company going off to other companies, doing their own little vignettes. You know, you have Mustafa Ali. He's about to have an amazing... Are you kidding me? Homeboy dropped the hottest promo, the hottest vignette of 2023. Last minute, dropped it as soon as his contract was up. As soon as he was a free agent, he said, hold my beer, and he's about to cook this year. This is the year I feel that a lot of wrestlers are owning their worth. They're showing their worth. They're showing their value. They are, you have to believe in yourself no matter what, right? Whether you're a podcaster, you're a journalist, content creator, you want to be an actor, you want to be a comedian, you want to be a singer, you want to be a wrestler. You have to believe in yourself. And this is the year that a lot of those wrestlers are really going to show how valuable they are. This is the year. And to start off hot with, again, Deonna Purrazzo is also on that list too. She was in NXT and she's been pulling out, the punches when it comes, pulling out the punches. I don't know if that's the right term, but she's doing a great job. She's doing a really great job with Impact. She did a great job. You have Mickie James. Like, there's so many different examples. You have Ruby Soho. You have, again, I'll bring up Samoa Joe. You have Swerve Strickland. You have Toni Storm. There are so much talent that we can pay attention to outside of WWE. And that's great. And sure, you have a lot of great talent that's still in WWE. I'm very still excited. Again, I'm very excited for the Royal Rumble. I'm very excited for WrestleMania. This is Christmas time when it comes to wrestling fans. But I am just so pumped to see what wrestling is going to be 6 months from now in 2024. Now that we're planting the seeds, to have someone like Dolph Ziggler show up at New Japan. You have Trinity being Knockouts Women's Champion. Like, it's just such an exciting time. And I think we need to really, as wrestling fans, I think we really need to sit on how much we are eating as wrestling fans. And I know that, I don't really pay attention to the IWC too much, but, I see some complaints here and there. But, when we are going to look back at this time, we're going to look back in the 20s, in the 2020 decade. We're going to look back on this, and this is the most extraordinary time to be a wrestling fan. This is the most extraordinary time to be a wrestling fan. This is it. This is going to be definitely the year that is going to cement the excitement of being a professional wrestling fan within this year. And I'm really pumped. I'm really pumped. I feel like, again, we have set ourselves up within this week alone. We have set ourselves up for a very, very, very exciting year in professional wrestling in 2023. And we did not just speak about WWE and AEW during this podcast. We spoke about Stardom. We spoke about New Japan. There's so much more to talk about when it comes to TJPW, when it comes to all of the indie promotions in America. There's a huge collective show out that's going to happen at WrestleMania when you have Defy Wrestling is going to show up. You have DDT showing up, which is another Japanese promotion. You have TJPW, which is another Japanese promotion that's showing up. And you have all of the usual shows that happen during the collective, like For the Culture and Effie's Big Gay Brunch. This is such an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. You want to know why? Because there's so much to watch. There's so much content to watch. There's so many matches. There are so many wrestlers that are about to become your new favorite wrestlers. There is so much just deep history with so many different wrestlers, from Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo. Did you guys know that they faced off in Stardom? No? Well, we're about to see them cooking in AEW, There's so many callbacks that you can do now that there's so many different wrestlers that are just everywhere, not just WWE. This is such a fantastic time to be a professional wrestling fan. There is something for everybody. There's something for everybody. You want to go in and you want to maybe watch TNA? Do you guys remember TNA from back in the day when we had those bangers with the X Division? Christopher Daniels showing out. You got TNA. It's coming back. You know, you want more women's wrestling? Check out Stardom. Check out TJPW. Check out the women's divisions when it comes to WWE, AEW, NXT. Check them out. When it comes to TNA, check them out. Check them out. You want some comedy wrestling? Check out DDT. That's a really good comedy wrestling. You know, you have Orange Cassidy, which is great. You have Danhausen. You have, again, Tony Storm. I'm forgetting a lot of other people because I'm spitting right now. Like, it's just such an amazing time to be a wrestling fan right now. And like, listen, we can have our complaints, we can have our opinions here and there, but I think we could just all agree that this is a tremendous time to come back to wrestling, to bring in more fans, and to fall in love with wrestling again. And this is the year. I have a really, really good feeling that this year is going to be the year that wrestling just booms again, you know? And consider the fact that we have the Iron Claw. I feel like the Iron Claw has put a lot of eyes to wrestling, you know? A lot of people that are just the average A24 fan that doesn't really know anything about wrestling, that went into the Iron Claw and sobbed their little eyes out. Think about those people that raced home, that immediately got on their phones after the movie and looked up the Von Erichs, looked up that match between, you know, Kevin Von Erich and Ric Flair, unfortunately, whatever. I have my issues with him, obviously. We can save that for another podcast day, but think about, you know, the exposure that Iron Claw put onto the professional wrestling world. And that was the end of 2023. And now we are going to get a lot of new fans going into, you know, wrestling in 2024. I think starting out the year with The Rock is a really great sign for that. So, all in all, basically, I'm just really excited. I'm really excited to be a professional wrestling fan. And I'm excited that everyone is interested in new wrestling. I'm excited to see so many people on Twitter and to see so many people in comment sections just, you know, kindly educating each other on, hey, if you like this, check out this, you know, and to follow their favorite wrestlers. You know, you have people that are huge Sasha Banks fans that probably did not watch anything from AEW within the last few years. And if she shows up in AEW, so many fans, so many eyes are going to be in that company. And I think that's the exciting thing about it. You know, you have Dolph Ziggler coming into New Japan. The same thing is going to happen. Am I comparing Dolph Ziggler to Mercedes Moné when it comes to a draw? No, but I'm just setting examples, people, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. Will, again, over on the YouTube, sending in a super chat. Thank you so much. With talks of WWE wanting to work with Stardom, my dream is to see Damage Control pull up at a Stardom show. I will agree with you on that. My dream is to see maybe Damage Control pull up and face off against Oedo Tai. And you have the bad girls versus the bad girls, I think. I would like to see that. You also have Queen's Quest. That would be really cool to see Damage Control versus Queen's Quest. And especially when you consider Io Sky was, you know, a part of Queen's Quest. That'd be pretty dope to see that. I am interested to see what the conversation is going to be with WWE and Stardom possibly working together, because there is the factor that Asuka is not on good terms with Stardom. And that all started around the time way before she signed to WWE. She just doesn't have a lot of good history when it comes to Stardom. And the founder of Stardom, you know, Asuka wrote a manifesto about Stardom and how Stardom was created to destroy her almost. So with that factor, I am interested to see what they're going to do with Stardom and WWE. And when it comes to Damage Control, I am interested to see what is going to happen with the addition of Asuka in Damage Control and Stardom. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to read up on that for sure. Speed Punk, thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. You know who they should bring to Ring of Honor is Session Moth. I would like to see that too. Get the beers ready. Get the booze brewing. I would also love to see that. I see so many familiar faces in the chat and it makes me really happy. Makes me really happy. Speed Punk again with another super chat. Did you guys see Iron Claw, Thrillbilly, and his tag partner from NWA played the Freebirds? I did. And you know what? A little quick review on the Iron Claw. I think the Iron Claw was such a beautiful story to tell. I mean, like, it was a very tragic story to tell. There's a lot of curse when it comes to, you know, the Von Erich family. But again, it was a very good story to tell when it comes to the definition of brotherhood and what it means and toxic masculinity that has happened within generations in professional wrestling. We watched all those dark side of the rings when it comes to the toxic masculinity of not showing emotion, not crying, not sitting with your feelings, you know, the substance abuse that comes with not showing any emotions and you know, being the tough guy. I think the Iron Claw did a good job on touching within that subject. And again, I think the Iron Claw really is going to bring in a lot of new eyes when it comes to professional wrestling. I'm excited. Again, I'm really excited to see where 2024 goes with professional wrestling when it comes to, you know, how wrestling is portrayed in the media. I've always said that professional wrestling over here in America can sometimes feel like the black sheep when it comes to entertainment. You know, I think a lot of people are very much aware of wrestling when it comes to The Rock, when it comes to Dave Bautista, when it comes to John Cena, when it comes to the Bella Twins. I mean, you have Mercedes Moné, a part of Star Wars, a part of the Star Wars universe, you know? And yet, sometimes when we hone in on, you know, the celebrities that make an appearance from Logan Paul to Bad Bunny, it sometimes can feel like there's a little, like, snickering laugh when it comes to professional wrestling in a grand entertainment sphere in America, when it comes to Hollywood, when it comes to TV shows. Like, sometimes it does feel that way. And I am hoping with Iron Claw, I'm hoping with this new year for wrestling, with so many new eyes being in wrestling, with so many different names just going so many places that have been released from WWE. You know, WWE is the biggest wrestling promotion in the world, but there are a lot of names that left that promotion that were huge names in that promotion, whether it's just 2 years ago, whether it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. There are a lot of people that left that promotion, and now they're going on to New Japan, to Stardom, to so many different other promotions, and TNA, just so many to list off. And it's going to be a really great year for wrestling, and I can't wait. I can't wait. But that is it, folks. We are ending the podcast episode there. I want to thank you guys so much. This is the season 2 premiere, first episode of the Queen of the Ring podcast in 2024. I'm very excited to see where the podcast goes, and I am so blessed and so honored that you guys are watching this in so many different platforms, or maybe listening to this in your beautiful little ear biscuits on every podcast platform. But if you are listening to this on whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, leave a comment, rate the podcast, leave up 5 stars, 4 stars, maybe, that's okay too. 5 stars definitely help. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed to the channel, please do, and hit the bell notifications for more videos to be released, especially this year. I'm really looking forward to it. And I am just so excited to see where the podcast comes, and I'm really happy that you guys joined me today, and I can't wait for the future of the Queen of the Ring podcast. So thanks again, guys. I will see you very soon. Of course, follow me on Twitter at Queen of the Ring with 2 G's. You can follow me on Instagram _Queen of the Ring. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Queen of the Ring Wrestling. Subscribe and follow on Twitch, twitch.tv/Queen of the Ring. It's going to be a great year. I can't wait. I love you guys so much. I'll see you soon, and I'll hear from you soon. Okay, bye.